Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Celtic Down Under weekend review. My name is Anthony Maguire, this week joined by Sean Connolly and Paul Massey as we look at Hibernian 2, Celtic 1. Bit of a hangover at Easter Road. Sean, it's been a little while since we've had you on, mate. I know you've been active in other Celtic-related fan media, so you're on the airwaves, and we're loving what you're doing. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was good. I was down in Bridgetown.
Oh, Sean, are you lagging or am I lagging? Someone's lagging.
Just been some 8-9 degrees in the morning. It's probably me, mate. Yeah, 8-9 degrees in the morning. Very nice.
And Paul, how's your weekend been, mate?
Yeah, good. Went to a Fringe show on Friday night, which was really good. I guess Fringe is officially finished, but one of the lead shows was carried on for an extra week. So it was Club Cabaret, which was an eye-opener on a number of different levels.
Oh yeah, that's I went to that one last year. So
Bernard
yeah.
Club Cabaret. Yeah, wife's been wanting to go to that kind of thing for a few years, and I've sort of poo-pooed it slightly. But I had some good reviews, and I decided to do the good husband duties and get tickets, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed it as well. So yeah, I wouldn't quite say something for everyone, but there was certainly lots of different acts and turns and various other bits of skills on show. So yeah, that was Friday night, which was good fun. And then the rest of the weekend was pretty chilled, actually. We had just a bit of kind of time together, me, the wife, and the dogs. Only really spoiled by Celtic's performance on the weekend. That was probably the low point of the weekend. But other than that, yeah, pretty good.
Yes, I was at a nose to tail dinner on Saturday night while the game was going on. So that was sort of getting all different parts of a cow served to me, and then having videos of said cow being slaughtered on the screen to see how it all gets done. So a bit of an artistic sort of take on the whole thing. But it was actually, I enjoyed it. Didn't put me off my meal. Beef heart and beef kidney just taste like meat. So there you go. So obviously my phone was pinging off massively because obviously the game was live while I was at my dinner. So, obviously getting sort of various text messages from the group. And yes, Paul, I would say in relation to your cabaret show that you would see, there is something for everybody. So for every pair of bare breasts that you might see, you probably saw a penis and a pair of balls as well. So, got equal opportunity. Everyone's got to have their go. If you're unhappy. But yeah, Sean, it was obviously the danger zone away in Europe, followed up by an away game in the league. Hibs, the form team in the league, unbeaten in 10, basically since we slapped them 3-0 at Celtic Park way back when. David Gray got them, has got them flying now. Obviously had a terrible start to the season. Basically the antithesis of Aberdeen's season, in the Aberdeen started like a flyer and are now fallen in a hole and have just recently stabilised. Hibs on the opposite trajectory, but obviously going for that third spot. What were you thinking during this one? Because obviously heartbreak in Munich, 1 each draw. I mean, you'd at the start of a competition like the Champions League, you would have bitten your hand off to get a 1-0 at the Allianz, but unfortunately that wasn't enough to force it to extra time and get us to progress further in Europe, or at least take it to extra time and see what could have happened. But yeah, like I said, how are you feeling going into the Hibs game, knowing the fact that obviously a lot of exertions, and yeah, take it away.
Yeah, it was devastating, obviously. The Munich final 30 seconds in, I'm not going to go into too much. I still find it quite difficult to talk about. I did the post-match Wrexham immediately, and I was just really lost for words. I think you can go back and look, and we were all just crestfallen. It was really hard to talk about it immediately afterwards. And it was a Tuesday, I guess, Wednesday morning for us. So there was a good lead into the Hibs game. So I was slightly optimistic in the sense that we had a bit of extra recovery time. But I was a bit downbeat in the sense that Hibs are just on this great run, great confidence. I know they've got their injury problems as well. That was the first game Bowie's ever started for Hibs. When they had like people like Yuan out injured, a couple others, but yeah. So there was two reasons to be optimistic, I guess, and then two big reasons, I guess, if you include the obvious European hangover and travel and stuff like that. I mean, the Celtic players stayed in Munich overnight and trained in Munich on Wednesday morning. So I think they must have came back Wednesday afternoon. So it feels like we dealt with it as best we could have. But just the exertions in Munich, only 2 subs, we made it Munich. So most of the guys played 90 minutes. And yeah, when we seen, I think if Bernardo had been fit, he obviously starts. I think if Forrest had been fit, he obviously starts. So there's 2 rotations that we would have made gone. And then in the aftermath of the Munich game, like even when he was not being asked about it, Rodgers was directly kept like 3 times, I think I counted in the interview without being asked. He mentioned improving the squad. Like he's talking about, the fact we only brought 2 subs on, the fact that we didn't have the quality and depth to deal with that. And then obviously we're seeing the hangover of that now. We're having to ask the same players to go again in an away trip in Edinburgh. And it happens every year or two. We go to Edinburgh and we're not at our best. The referees are not helping us. And the whatever Edinburgh team are just on a good run of form and show up for the day, and it happens and it'll happen again. So I was fairly balanced in my optimism and pessimism going in that sense, but yeah, we all know what happened thereafter.
Paul, not to blow my trumpet here, but I said to my dad the 3 changes would be Greg Taylor, McCowan in. I didn't sort of specifically say who for, but I said he'd start, and I said Adam Media would be restored to the starting lineup up top. I was right on all 3 counts, and then obviously we were both wrong because all 3 of them were hooked at halftime. But we'll get to that. But Sean makes a valid point there. Having to go back to the well with the same players, both in terms of starting lineups and playing 90 minutes in Europe. Is this a game where a wee Kyogo or a Kyogo replacement would have been handy, because then we're having to throw Maeda through the middle. We'll lose a winger. So we're losing our versatility out wide, particularly with Forrest being injured. Only having the 4 midfielders for the 3 positions in the midfield with Bernardo being injured. Are we a wee bit light on going into this one? Any red flags for you going into the game, or did you feel we still had enough despite Hibs, strong showing of like?
Yeah, I obviously Sean makes valid points. I'll be honest, I expected us. Obviously, it was pretty heartbreaking at the end, but I thought, I guess, a bit like the fan base a day or 2 later, I thought the playing group would go, well, in the cold light of day, we've pushed them right to the absolute limits. They were the celebrations at full time when they got a draw tell you everything. And I kind of felt that obviously the game was Tuesday, that an extra day. Sometimes we'd be asked to play Wednesday, Saturday. I just thought there would be enough. We'd have enough on with a few rotations, and you're right, those are the kind of rotations you sort of expected. That despite Hibs' good form, I think they're unbeaten in 10, but I think they've only won 2 in the last 6. They've had a lot of draws.
13 unbeaten.
Yeah. But 2 wins in the last 6 prior to going into this game. So I expected to happen was kind of what we saw second half. I expected that level of performance for the full game, and we didn't get it first half. It's not the first time this season that we've sort of not fronted up in the first 45. Not as often as it happened last year. But yeah, I thought there'd be enough. We'd have enough all together, and with a few rotations that we would get the job done. I didn't expect it to be comfortable, but I didn't expect us to be as awful as we were first half. I certainly didn't expect us to be going in 2-0 down at half time. But despite all of that, I think and this might sound daft in the aftermath, and we'll get into the detail, but really, I think we win the game if the goal that's chopped off is given. Like, with the momentum is all with us. I think there's 10, 15 minutes to go at that point. You would bank on Celtic scoring another one at that point. And that decision obviously led to us not getting a goal, and it completely wiped out the momentum. The game got scrappy after that, and we never really got back to the sort of intensity and flow that we were in prior to that point. So yeah, we take it on the chin. Ultimately, it'll mean nothing. It meant even less when they went on to lose afterwards. In fact, we came out of the weekend with a +1 goal difference. So it literally meant nothing.
We'll get to that.
but I think the manager will be disappointed with the first half performance, regardless of what happened in midweek.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm just going to bring some of the comments in. McLaughlin P, how you doing? Hell. John Clements is just happy that Philip Clement is gone. Yes, we will have a chat about Baltimore at the end of the show. So yes, now we're probably more mourning that he's going than the Rangers fans are. But anyway, we will definitely touch on that. Henrik Millarson saying, "Morning, Hoopsters. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us." Manish is saying here that the XG probably 2-1 to Celtic would have been the fair result. But again, XG, it's just a number. It's just a stat, but it does give you a bit of an idea. Martin K, morning, folks. Good evening to you. Sean, our stats all look pretty similar to every other Celtic game that I've watched all this season. I managed to watch the game back with most of it back. But 76% possession, 4 shots on target, 6 off target, 10 corners to 5, 8 offsides to 6, which is probably higher than normal, 11 fouls to 12, and then 2 yellow cards to their 3, and two saves to their 3. Do you feel that we got off to a terrible start, so we may as well start there, because that was a logical place to do it, but after 2 minutes, score a goal down. Talk through his goal, because obviously I had the group chat going a million miles an hour while I was at my dinner, and I was sort of trying to figure out what had happened, and I watched it back a couple of times. I'm still trying to get my head around where do you apportion blame, but there's a big gaping hole at the back. Campbell's exploited it. It's still a good finish. He's had to do well to beat Schmeichel. There's still a lot to do, but Celtic did open the door for him. Talk us through that. It's as far as I'm concerned, it's a cascade or a series of defensive errors that sort of lead to that chance being given, and then obviously Hibs take it. And David Gray was very clear about this, that they were clinical on the day. Previous games against Celtic, they've been wasteful. So they got the 2 chances, they took the 2 goals, and they took them really well. Can't sort of take that away from them, but we did kind of give them an opportunity, especially so early in the game. So talk us through what you saw and where you felt the blame lies, if there is to be allocated.
Yeah, watching it live, my first instinct was McCowan was at fault. But that in reflection, when I watched it back, that was more just the way the camera was angled. It was more obvious what his fault was, even though his fault was lesser than his teammates. You could argue that Trusty shouldn't be following the attacker that deep. I don't really buy that, to be honest. I'm actually not too bothered about Trusty doing that. I think sometimes a centre back needs to do that. I think that's fine. He could hand them off and hold his position, but you probably would against a better team like Bayern Munich. So there's an argument there. He's overeager, but again, not mostly at fault. When the pass comes square inside, McCowan's angle is terrible. Like, he's just standing, like, it should be obvious to him where the pass is going, and he should be covering that angle. Instead, he's just kind of static, watching the player, waiting to see what the Hibs player does, and then the Hibs player just has lots of space to find his man. And then what happens is, because Trusty's vacated that space, I heard someone say Taylor should be dropping back. Maybe. To me, that's a midfield runner. That's a midfielder's job. Maybe it's different at professional level, but at amateur level that we play, when the defender steps up, midfielder should be seeing that. They should know just instinctively that's their job to cover it. And what's happened, instead of McGregor covering it, him and 2 other players whose names are not in my head right now all get drawn to the ball. There's 3 players around the ball, and that just leaves Josh Campbell free run, so much space, and there's just no chance of anyone recovering, and he has a good finish. So there's it's a team failing, and without knowing what their assignments are and without knowing what their instructions are, it's hard to say precisely what the failings are. But for me, McCowan bad angle, McGregor drawn to the ball, and that's the 2 that I would assume are at fault, but might be a different system at professional level.
Paul, have you got anything that you'd wanted to sort of add, or anything that you saw, or different opinion to what Sean's just said?
Nah, only thing I'd add is the left side is heavy. I know the throw-ins on the left-hand side, but we're heavily loaded with, like, there's about 5 players down that wing, inside probably between 5 and 10 yards from the touchline. You could drive a bus through the midfield at that point. McCowan is, as Sean says, he's got his angles all wrong. He's too far forward, and there's a big gap in the inside. And then McGregor is kind of in no man's land, and as Campbell runs off him, he's caught ball watching and attracted to the ball when that's not his main issue. Is defensive midfielder, as Sean says, there's a massive gap behind him. Taylor could be funneling round, and CCV could maybe be squaring up a bit, and between them they could block it. But his McGregor's man is the guy who scores, and he runs off the back of him. And if he's going to let him run, he's got to be in communication with somebody behind him. There's nobody behind him, so his job is the major danger is coming from a guy that's going to run into open space and have a free hit to goal. He's got to go there. There's lots of players behind the ball on that side. One of them can press the man with the ball, or worst case scenario, leave him with the ball for there, because that's not got immediate damage. He's still 35, 40 yards from goal. He's not going to score from there. So, and if he does, fair play to him. The danger's coming from the runner, and they let him go and nobody picks him up, and there's no communication. It's just a really, really sloppy goal to give away. It's good play by Hibs. They move it quickly. They're incisive. It's clinical. But it's another one of these goals that you would a bit like the Harry Kane goal. Do you know what I mean? You'd roll like a schoolboy team for letting a goal in like that. It just smacks of me being like, you're 2 minutes into the game, you're not really on it, you're not at game speed, they're bang up for it, and you're not sharp, and yet you get punished. And fair enough, that can happen. We'll get there. But to then drop another goal, similarly sloppy, right on half time, it's just poor.
Well, it does give you a bit of a mountain to climb away from home when you are up against it and you're not playing your best football. But we'll also get to that second goal in a little bit. But I agree. I think McGregor got ball watching, got sucked in when he really needed to drop off. And then I'm thinking, well, should Carter Vickers not be saying to McGregor, drop? Like, there's a lack of communication there. And you're sort of saying, I think McGregor thought either Taylor or Trusty was behind him and there was no one there. I think Taylor should have dropped in. I would question Trusty going so deep as well. I mean, I understand he was following the man and that can happen, but, I just feel like it's all little 5%ers that have just amounted up to this sort of empty space. And then that's what's led to... It's
disjointed as well. It's like you say, it's disjointed and it's comms, right? If there's good communication between players, the fact there's a massive hole created in both midfield and defense at the same time, somebody that can see that, and you're probably looking at CCV, he can see all of that in front of him. Schmeichel, if CCV's not driving it, Schmeichel should be screaming at his defense to get that organized. He probably was, but yeah, I don't know. It's just a bad team goal to lose, to be honest.
So Henrik Malarsson is saying if Bernardo was playing, that we don't concede that first goal. I mean, obviously they're all hypothetical type scenarios, but Bernardo's not the same player as a Luke McCowan. But I take the point that Bernardo is a bit more defensive minded, a bit more robust, and generally gets his position a little bit better. But I just kind of feel there was too many players out of position all at the same time. And I said, it's a gift to Hibs. I mean, they still had to finish it. They did finish it. So, fair play. They're 1-0 up. For me, I felt Hibs' biggest strength was actually their backline. I thought they defended really, really well. They kept catching us offside. That hurt us. It fragmented up the play in that first half. We just couldn't get any sort of rhythm. I watched it back today, and the number of times that we ran off was just... Peter Grant was tearing what little hair he has in his head out on the Celtic TV commentary. Sorry, Sean. Did you see a way back in that first half? Because I mean, there was a wee half chance we sort of made a sort of diving and not really getting anywhere close to it. Adam Ida had one. Was there anything
Alistair Johnson? Alistair Johnson had a big
Johnson. One. Yes, no, that's right.
And no, actually, I thought we were like we weren't great, but I still felt like we were looking like we could get something. Yeah, like I was really the Adam Ida was really annoyed me, and not just the one where he takes an extra touch instead of squaring it to Maeda and Kuhn, who are unmarked in the box. That was frustrating, but I actually got more frustrated at an earlier moment when Kuhn breaks the line and he's going down the wing, and I look over to see who's in the middle, and Ida is just strolling, and he's not making any effort to get into the box, and it means Kuhn has to cut back, take on the man. It's like, what? And then the whole Hibs line gets back. I seen him against Aston Villa a few weeks ago, making that break and run. So I don't know why he thinks he doesn't have to bother against Hibs. It was quite frustrating. On the offside, I was getting really angry with that as well. Like I don't know, man. Like, because Hibs time wasting is something you can't control, right? That's between Hibs and the ref. But when we were getting caught offside, that's just killing the game as well. And that was more frustrating because it was something that we were in control of and we were not executing well at all. And some of them were just really obvious as well. Like the player passing the ball could have known. Like there was one where Kuhn was just not onside at any point. Like it was just laziness. It was like Yang against St Mirren 2 years ago. It was that kind of level of offsides. So yeah, it was. I could see a route back, and I did actually think, to your point, like there's a lot of things that go into a defeat when you're levels above the opposition and you lose. There's not one thing, right? There's lots of things that go into it, and I didn't think that. I think maybe McCowan was a bit hard done by. I thought he looked like he was the one that was most likely to unlock the defence. It's him that puts the ball through for Alistair Johnson. He does have a good creative instinct, but like his defensive work wasn't there. And it was a game where Hibs were offering an attacking threat. I think the best save that Schmeichel makes is actually would have been called back for offside if it had gone in. Yeah. So it's I don't know that was a very clear Hibs chance in that sense. I think that another one that annoyed me was when Greg Taylor heads it up into the air on the edge of the box. Yes. And even McGregor doesn't react to it either. So like the two of them were kind of ball watch. Like it was really slack. It was slack. I think the only player that looked like he wanted it in the first half was Arne Engels, maybe. Like I don't know. The rest of them were kind of slow.
I thought Maeda did put his usual shift in first half. He was still trying. He was trying, but I mean, he wasn't getting much service. But like he sort of nearly got on the end of a couple of things. But yeah, him and Engels maybe. But yeah, so many players off it. Paul, we were defensively poor because I was counting the number of times going, wow, like that could have been it. That's a chance we've coughed up. We were coughing up opportunities, and yeah, Hibs ran offside a couple of times, and Sean's right, but Schmeichel's not to know that he still pulls the save. But it's just we were really abject, really just disjointed. I think is the word I would use compared to Hibs. That Bashiri was marshalling that back line really, really well, and just very disciplined. And yeah, playing a high line like that, you're taking a risk, and yeah, you can make it look really stupid, but we didn't help ourselves. Like all we had to do was back off a couple of yards and give ourselves a bit of space. And you could have attacked that open space, that high line that they were playing. But for whatever reason, we couldn't adapt. We just kept doing the same thing over and over again. And the frustrating thing with it in a VAR world is that not only is it offside, and it's offside, the phase of play has to complete itself, which can take another 15, 20, 30 seconds. And then the flag goes up, and then it's a free kick. And then all that time's wasted, energy's wasted. So from a spectating point of view, it's frustrating because, as Sean says, some of those offsides were so blatantly obvious. Like from the naked eye, you could like at no point was he ever on. It's not like a Kyoto where he drifts on and drifts off. They were off. So what were your thoughts of that first half? Because you obviously had the benefit of watching it live as well.
Yeah, like all the points that both you and Sean make for me fall into pretty much the category of bad decision making. I thought decision making was shocking first half, both with and without the ball. You know, from stuff like getting the angles wrong for passing lanes to misjudging passes. We left passes short. We played passes too long. We hung on to the ball too often. The offside, a lot of the offsides came from, just bad decision making, poor choices. As Sean says, players running off. There were others where the player wasn't ready to receive, and then he's getting the ball played 2, 3, 4 yards in front of him, which he's never going to catch. I just thought there was too many players off it, and players like somebody like Greg Taylor. And I don't really want to pick on Greg Taylor because he's started to become a bit more of a whipping boy, as we know that his contract's running out. But he's a player coming into the team as a rotation that should be fresh, bang up for it, because Schlupp is now right after his jersey, and you think you want to fight for that jersey and you want to hold on to it for the remainder of the season. He had a shocking first half and he thoroughly deserved to get hooked. From, like you say, the daft header across goal, misplaced passes, just generally just a bit disjointed. And this, I agree with this. I think he was pretty lucky. I was expecting to see a VAR review for a possible red card, and we didn't get. Now, I'm sure they looked at it. We didn't. We only really saw one angle, and it wasn't a great angle, but he looked to be a bit straight-legged and studs up.
He mistimed it. Mistimed it badly.
I think he caught him above or at least the ankle or higher. So I think he's a bit lucky with that. You've certainly seen players go for less. And I don't think it was bad malice, like you say, it was badly timed, but you've seen people get pinged for that. I just think and he's not the only one. I thought Kuhn had a really bad first half. He was all over the place. McCowie never really got settled. I think the three that got hooked, and you could have probably hooked more than three at halftime. I think that the three that got, I called it in the group chat. I said those three need to go, and these three need to come on, and it exactly happened. I think if it got in 1-0, that might not have happened at halftime. But you go in 2-0, you need immediate changes, and the three changes that were the obvious changes for me are the ones the manager had, and you saw immediate reaction. But yeah, generally, I just think too many players off it. But majority just poor decision making, and not what we really become accustomed to the Celtic team. The Celtic team, slick and generally good decision making, but we were all over the place, to be honest.
Sean, what was your thoughts on the Greg Taylor tackle? Do you think he was fortunate?
Yeah. Oh no, I wouldn't go that far. I think I think if he gets given a red for that, VAR's not overturning it, put it that way. VAR's not going to downgrade it to a yellow if the referee chooses that as a red. But I also don't think it was obvious enough to upgrade to a red. As you say, the contact point was at the ankle, and that's kind of the zone where the force, and that when you're hitting that area, the force becomes a larger consideration than, so say versus studs in the knee, right? That's the force doesn't have to be as high for that to be dangerous, right? But studs in the ankle, you need a little bit more force for that to be a straight leg force sort of thing. So I don't think he has a straight leg. Really, there's not too much excessive force. As you're right, as a risky point of contact though, and he has mistimed it. I'd be disappointed to see that upgraded to a red, but also if it had been given a red, I don't see these.
Wouldn't get overturned.
Nah, I don't see he's getting back down. So what is it? The Michael Stewart says Kenny Miller, I think it's the orange card or something. I can't remember.
Oh yeah, Richard says an amber card. He likes to use that expression, but Richard's in Scotland at the moment. So if you're over in Scotland, say hello to Richard if you bump into him in the streets. I think that's fair. So obviously, Rogers has got his halftime team talk all lined up. He's probably thinking, give this team 10, 15 minutes, usual, make my substitutions at 55, 60 minutes. And then, Paul, we can see the goal right on the stroke of halftime. Another, I'd say, poorly defended effort on Celtic's part. Great header, really great finish. But again, free header inside your 18-yard box. Yeah, I've watched this several times. I'm thinking, who like Trusty's got two people behind him, so he's thinking if it goes deeper, he's covering two men. Taylor's in no man's land. Carter Vickers think he's going to attack the ball, Adam Eda's standing there with his hands on his hips. Take your pick. I mean, so obviously immediate reaction at halftime is to make 3 substitutions, which Brendan Rodgers very rarely does. So obviously he was pissed, and rightly so. But before we get there, what was your thoughts on that second goal? Because that must have just a wee bit like Bayern Munich on the week, like concede a last minute goal like that. It's a bit of a
and Bayern Munich at Parkhead, we lose a goal with 8 seconds to half time. It's not dissimilar. So there's a bit of a and I don't want to sort of have a crack because it's a bit different between Hibs and Bayern Munich, but it's that thing about seeing halves out, seeing games out. To be honest, I haven't watched. I watched it live and I watched the replays. I haven't watched it back since. But somebody needs to take the spot. The ball gets swung into the box. He's also a midfield runner, right? So there's, why is there not a midfielder going in that area? Again, is there communication of who's picking up? But the ball gets thrown at the box. What is it? He heads it from about 7 or 8 yards, something like that.
Yeah.
One of your big centre halves has got to be going and dominating that and getting rid. And it wouldn't be the first time that we've not defended the box from a headed area as well as we could have this season. So yeah, I just think it's really poor in terms of you're close. It's 49th minute. You're closing the half out, and it's probably it's pretty much the last thing that'll come into the box before you go up the tunnel. Just be switched on and somebody deal with it. So yeah, like as usual with these things, there's multiple problems. Ball comes in probably too easily in the first place. But yeah, you shouldn't be allowing a midfield runner to jump above you and basically have a free header and nod it into the net.
Sean, who did you point the finger at live?
Take your pick, really. Trusty isn't holding his line, right? And then there's 4 guys just standing marking no one. Like there's even another guy free behind Josh Campbell. So there's essentially 2 men free in what is a high looping cross. I don't think that's Schmeichel's ball. He shouldn't be coming for that. That's far enough out that it's not a Schmeichel. I heard that mentioned on, I think it was the BBC one or something, or I can't remember. But I was like, no, that's not a goalkeeper's ball from there. You could say something about the cross not being closed down, but even then, it's just a looping floated cross. Like someone should get into getting that on the end of that, or at least putting enough pressure on him that he doesn't get an easy header. And because he has had time to pick his spot, it's gone in off the post. There's just nothing really Schmeichel can do about it in that sense. So yeah, blame any of the 4 players not marking anyone. Blame Trusty a little bit more for not holding the line, because you could argue the rest of them were. There's an argument, they're not facing it, but there's an argument that they're consciously playing the offside line with their heads turned to it. I don't know about that, but either way, that's young an argument for that. But yeah, as you mentioned, all the timing kills us, and I wasn't feeling too down about it. At 1-0 down, we had our chances. I was like, okay, if we pick up our game second half, but then at 2-0, it's like, this is a big task now, because we've not been playing well enough to look like we're going to score 3 goals without conceding. As it turned out, we didn't. We did not achieve that target. So it looked the way it was, and it turned out that way.
I'm a bit old school, but I just kind of feel like somebody has to attack that ball. And whether you're marking or not, somebody's actually going to go and meet that ball in the air. And Carl Vickers went over his head. It was too deep for it was too far forward for Trusty. So one of those other players has to step up and win it. But no one wanted to get a head on it, and everyone was just willing to just sort of stand there and hope that someone else was going to deal with it. And like you say, Sean, Trusty's played everybody on. So I mean, he keeps the line with everyone else. He'd have been offside, and we would have been like, oh, there's another chance that Hibs had that was nearly maybe if whatever, but it wasn't. And it kind of summed up that half of football, really, when you sort of think about it. It was disjointed, and players doing different things and being a bit individual rather than playing as a team, which I will say you wouldn't level that at Celtic much this season. They've been, for the most part, really just only 2nd defeat in the league all season. Somebody did say in the comments, we haven't managed to go 5 games winning in a row since November. So I mean, that's interesting. But again, we do usually hit a little bit of a sugarly peg December into January, just on the back of all the fixtures that we have to play. So now that we're out of Europe, you would think that, back to one game a week, and obviously we've got a game midweek this week, but we're back to sort of one game a week.
There's only one more midweek game after this one. I can start sleeping in the week time again. It's driving me nuts, just getting up at 3 a.m.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's totally it's killing me. So I mean, it is great that we can sort of get our sleep back, because being in the Southern Hemisphere, it is a challenge. Supporting Celtic when European fixtures and whatnot are on at all hours of the night. Paul, second half, is there anything that you want to sort of really touch on leading up to our equaliser, but our goal to get us back into it, which kind of, have to say, sort of came out of nothing, really. Like, it wasn't really like a great bit of play. It was just Maeda being Maeda and the ball in a good area, and he's just psyched the goalkeeper out. But was there anything sort of prior to that sort of caught your eye? I mean, we thinking, well, we're good for 3 goals, or what were you thinking?
Well, it's tall order, but also if you get one relatively early and then you build a momentum, like I said earlier, I think if the goal that we'll get to speak about, that's been probably analysed to death in the last sort of 48 hours, I think if that's sort of that's given or not overturned, I think we probably go in and win the game. So I thought it was an immediate reaction from after the changes. I thought we immediately looked better. Intensity was up. So it's a mixture of the changes and the rollicking. I think everybody's level went up, but I think Hatate was heavily involved early on, and you could see him starting to build sort of a bit of momentum and get that passing going. So yeah, I kind of, with the changes, you want those changes, you want immediate reaction. We got that, and then we put a bit of play together, but nothing quite clear cut. And then out of almost nothing, he just chases a bit of a loss. I've not looked at the Hatate. I think he's mishit it. I'm pretty sure I don't think he's tipped it over there. I don't know what you guys think.
He scuffed it.
He sclaffed it. I think it's Scott sclaffed it. It goes up in the air. The keeper hasn't covered himself in glory, as far as I'm concerned. Like, I think
he was the whole game. He was there to be got at, and we did not get him.
He's bottled it a bit, and Maeda's done what he does. He chases lost causes, and he's brave enough to stick a toe in and nicks a goal out of nothing. And it's classic Maeda graft and opportunistic finishing. And it's game on at that point. And he tails it up, and from there we dominate the game until the goal, or the goal that's not given. After that, as I say, it gets scrappy and disjointed, and it sort of fizzles out.
The chance that Kuhn had where he broke away, and then I think it was from the penalty shout, and we broke up the park, and then Kuhn, all he had to do was swear it out to Jota, and Jota he was open, he was away, and he held on to it, and he gave the ball away, and it broke down. And the other main chance in that game, obviously not the goal, but the one where Jota cuts in, and all he had to do was really swear it to Kuhn. And then he shoots, and then that's the one where Bashiri gets to block the clearance off the line. And I mean, another day he's a hero, but like, I just kind of feel like the better percentages there was to square it to Kuhn. But you got to wonder, it was a wee bit of payback for not getting squared in on that fast break, and the two of them are a wee bit sort of like, because they haven't played together before. They're sort of he came in, Kuhn came in after Jota left, didn't he? That was sort of that transition. All right, they were both there at the same.
I actually don't think that was. I've watched it back a couple of times, like on the night, and I didn't actually think it was that obvious that Kuhn was the right option there, because I think maybe before you go around the keeper, it's the obvious option, but once he's gone round the keeper, it's actually like effectively taking an extra touch and slowing the game down to try and find Kuhn at that point.
I don't know.
He's got it on his right foot. He's in, he's got the right angle. He's gone past the keeper. I think he just doesn't get his head up. I think part of the problem is he sees Maeda, and he knows if he hits it in that direction, Maeda's offside, or he assumes either way. And so he's kind of hooking it in a sense, whereas he would normally side foot it into the side that Maeda's covering. So I think and not criticizing Maeda, that's like he's made that run from the earlier Jota run. So I actually think just marginally that was the correct option to take the shot on. It was just he needed to get his head up a bit, execute it a bit better, and he was probably just a bit puffed after that big run because it was a big run and he was under physical pressure on the way as well. It wasn't, like he did well. He did really well. I actually thought it was the right decision, but it's easy to say in hindsight because he's missed it that he should square it to Kuhn. But yeah, like honestly, I thought Kuhn was just too close to him, and there was a defender in the area, so I actually thought it was the right choice in that sense.
I pretty much agree with you, Sean. I think he's kind of done the hard work. He's rode 2 tackles. He's probably not been favourite to still find himself with the ball by the time he gets the keeper. And you're right. I think if he just gets over it and tries to just get it on target. And if he just gets his head up, he could pick a spot because he pretty much hits it the only place that it can be defended. But yeah, like you say, he's probably just a bit fatigued by that point, and again, decision making's not quite where you want it to be. And yeah,
alrighty, let's get into it. We're at 40 minutes, so we need to start rattling through this. Well, obviously, the main talking point from the game is obviously the chopped off goal for Celtic. This would have made it 2 each. Neil McCann in Sports Scene says that VAR shouldn't have intervened if there's not a clear angle. Brendan Rodgers very clear in his post-match that how can you use an 18-yard camera to try and determine whether something's on the goal line, that the linesman's in the best position. He ruled it to be in. Referee agreed, and the goal was awarded on the park. So for VAR to overturn the decision, you need clear and obvious data, or be able to show there's a clear and obvious error. And to this day, I've not seen any footage. Actually, I saw some today from a spectator at the ground that shows that it was in. But in terms of actual match footage, from what you can see from Celtic TV, Premier Sports, whatever, and what VAR would have used, no way. And obviously, we've all watched the Gary Neville thingy and the Japan World Cup thing, and how the ball looks from different angles, blah blah blah. There's no way in hell that Alan Muir could stand there in a court of law and say that unequivocally 100% that ball was out the park. Sean, you are a resident referee. Anything like how could he get?
To be clear, you don't need to be a resident referee.
Well, I know.
I was fuming at the time. The Lino has a good view of that. And look, if you want to see the standard see if you go back, I can't remember how many minutes it was, but it was roughly the 70th minute. There's one Mariah Welsh is on the right wing, and the ball from the camera angle, from the far side camera angle looking across the pitch, the ball looks like it's out of play. And the linesman, who is quite far away, can see that it's still in play and plays on and plays on. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine. That was a good call. It looks like a good call. And then there was to overrule the linesman who's got a better angle than the 18-yard camera is just bizarre. If you actually make a list of some of the worst refereeing or worst decisions in Scottish football in the last 12 years, Alan Muir comes up every second decision.
Well, I was just going to say that, because I saw the one with the Kilmarnock keeper getting sent off against Rangers. Far out. They didn't even touch him. And he brandished a red card for that. I'm going, wow, this guy's got form. So, I mean, clearly he's got an agenda. I don't even think he's got. Think about a League Cup final. That's the one where the Rangers Cherney gets pulled. That's Alan Muir as well. The one that should have given a penalty to Sevco and doesn't. So, I think he's just incompetent. I think he is. I think he's just really bad. I think he's just an idiot.
This should be the end of him.
It should be.
So we should go right after him and get him hunted because it's absolutely hopeless.
Surely every team's had a bad call from him that can now get onside with us.
For me, it's the thing that the after, in the immediate aftermath of the game, you've got reporters and pundits, and it's on BBC Sports feed saying, "Oh, we're hearing now that it was a factual overtime." Well, it isn't a factual overturn because you haven't.
It's wrong.
As Roger says, you haven't got. Look, so here's my point. It might have been out, but there's nothing that VAR had access to confirm that it's out. So if you can't confirm it's out, you got to stick with the on-field decision. Tough. He's guessed. Roger said he's guessed. He's guessed. The only we've got VAR like X crap version, like not what you're getting in Champions League, what you're getting in the Premier League. So either you accept its limitations and go, well, we're going to stick to it on pitch, or you upgrade it and get something that actually works. To be honest, unless you've got a camera right on the byline, looking along the byline, the only other angle you can confirm that with is a spider cam overhead, because then you're looking down, similar to the shots we've seen from the Japan game that go, well, there's the cross. You can see right down on top of the ball. You can see if there's any overhang on the line or not. There's nothing that gives you any chance of saying it's definitively in or out. So the linesman's got the best view. Leave it be.
Exactly. That's the main thing, right? There's no camera on the line, but guess what? There's a linesman on the line with two eyes that have better resolution than the cameras, that have a better frame rate than the cameras. Like, how can you overrule it with that potato camera at a terrible angle? It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't.
I often go back to the DRS in cricket in these situations. And if this was a DRS review and the footage was inconclusive, as in, there's no snicko, but the camera, you can't tell because it's just too blurry or whatever, the upstairs umpire has to go back down and say, stick with your original decision, because I can't see any clear evidence to overrule your decision. You're on the ground, you're the umpire, the referee, whatever. Your decision stands, and that's what should have happened. By all means, he could have had a look at it, but he should have went, hang on a minute, if that's the best angle, camera, whatever I've got, I can't 100% of my heart say that that's out. So it's going to be very interesting what Willie Collins going to have to say about this, because this is obviously going to come up in some sort of, the VAR review show or whatever it is that he does now, but it's indefensible. There's no clear evidence there to say that, and Rodgers is right, he's effectively estimated or guessed, and that's not what VAR's about. And for the BBC or whoever, the broadcaster come out and say it's a factual overturning, there's no fact there, because they're looking at the same grainy image that we've all looked at for the last 2 days. And like you say, Sean, it was the image from somebody in the stands with their iPhone that actually shows that, yeah, but the ball actually was in. So that goal should have stood. So VAR should never have got involved in the first place. By all means, VAR should have had a look at it. But when they realized that they don't have the technology or the image to back it up, they should have backed off and said, well, goal has to stand. We shouldn't be getting involved in this. So Alan Muir's he's overstepped his remit.
Think about the Kyogo goal that he scores at Fir Park, and they flag it offside. Was it Kyogo, Jota? I can remember. Kyogo sets up, Jota scores, yeah. And they go, so the lino flags it, right? And then they go back to look, this is pretty close. But hey, guess what? The best camera angle we've got is from the opposite end of the ground, blah, blah, blah. So we're just, looks right. But look, at least they've gone with the on-field decision right at that point. It's just, you can't be doing that. Like, and they showed how VAR should work, because that second Hibs goal, it gets called off. The linesman flags offside. He's disallowed it. And then after somehow taking 3 minutes, when it was obvious from the first replay that it was onside, and then we have to go through this whole thing. It was so obvious it was onside, and it took us 3 minutes to get that goal awarded. It was like, come on, man. We all know. Let's just get on with it. It's just incompetence, like incompetence at the highest level. And I'm not saying it's all of them. It's a lot of them, but Alan Muir's the worst. But that's got to be 19-year-olds out there that are better at this. Do you know what I mean? And
his main job seems to be on VAR now. So it's like his one job is to look at. So you think he'd be getting better at it, but he seems to be getting worse at it.
It's just not right in the head. And the thing is, with that League Cup final one, all the Sevco fans coming out and focusing on the guy with the Catholic surname. Look at Alan Muir. Look at everything he's ever done, and you're focusing on some dude who's the assistant who doesn't make the call, because he has a Catholic surname. It is Alan Muir. He is an incompetent nincompoop.
If you want any comfort it wasn't the only shocking video official decision on the weekend, because England got awarded a try that wasn't grounded.
Yeah.
And the third umpire had a look at it and went, video ref went, yeah, your on-field decision's fine. When there was more than enough evidence to overturn that, and they didn't. So it's in all sports, even ones that have been running third officials or video officials for multiple decades compared to football. So yeah, and as long as we've got it, I'm believe it or I'm still an advocate for VAR. If it's not VAR, that's the technology's not great. The technology could be better, but even if the technology is what it is, it's the idiots that are operating it and recommending stuff that they can't recommend. And as Anthony said, they've overstepped the remit. I don't think we need to spend any more time on it. We're just gonna make ourselves more angry and do our blood pressure no good.
So we beat 2-1. We didn't really create any real major chances after that. After that goal, it's disallowed. So we're thinking, this leaves the door open for Rangers maybe to claw some points back.
Sorry, just before you move on to them, can I just bring up Josh Campbell? Because when we get them at Celtic Park, he was acting the big boss.
He was
going in, bringing down targeting Jeffrey Schlupp. That was pretty close to a red card as well. A little bit more force, and that's a red card. So I would love to see him get his nose rubbed in it when we beat them at Celtic Park in the Cup.
Oh no, I definitely think they've put a mark on themselves. Like when we do have to play them in the Cup.
Campbell in particular, who could have just taken the win, but not. He had to act the big boss, and now he should be getting it.
Well, and one last thing I mentioned on the game, and you touched on this, Anthony, is first half when there was offsides or play that was going to get stopped. They let the game run way longer before pulling it back for the offside. Second half, when we got our tails up, flags were straight up and accepted. There was no letting it play out and going back and double checking it. It was just, we'll call that offside and away we go. Now, I haven't seen the replays back to say how many of them were 100% definitely offside, but there was definitely a different way of running those decisions after. And yeah, we could probably all grumble and say we probably do want to see a flag sooner, but I don't want that to change at half time.
Halfway through the game.
I want the game to be handled in the same way for the full fucking 100 minutes. Not go, we should probably improve that. We'll do it at half time. That's the place to change it. A nonsense. Just another nonsense.
Yeah, Steve McLean doesn't have a great game either, but we've done enough on the officials for 1 week. So if there's no further comments, let's just do a man of the match, and then we can talk to what's happening in Hunland. Sean, you're our guest this week, so have you got a man of the match for us? Who did you think rated a mention?
Tough call, eh? Oh, jeez. Probably go with Maeda, maybe Engels. I thought he did all right. Yeah, no one else really felt like they deserved it to me.
Okay. Paul?
Jeffrey Schlupp.
In the second half.
I thought he was, he only played 45 minutes, but I don't think he put a foot wrong in that 45 minutes. His defender was excellent. He was strong, good engine, passing. I thought he had a cracking game, and to be honest, hopefully his match fitness is up. Like, I want him to be in that jersey for the rest of the season, because the upgrade is significant. And yeah, there's still, I know there's a lot of people saying, he's out of contract, but he might not stick around because his wage demands will be too high. I'm hoping he's potentially a bit of a Joe Hart. He sees promise, happy to take a wage cut, and will give us another couple of seasons at least, and sort of be an interchange for Kieran Tierney. So yeah, fingers crossed. But yeah, I thought he was excellent.
I'll go with Maeda. Just, again, he put a massive shift over in Germany, and then he backs it up, left wing, centre forward, gets a goal, gets a lifeline. Should have had 2 goals. Maeda. But yeah, like I said, it was slim pickings this week, but thankfully we haven't had to do too many of these podcasts. And like you say, you're thinking, well, maybe that's left the door open for the Huns. But as has happened 3 times this season where Celtic have dropped points, the Huns have also dropped points after that. And this was the final nail in Baldemore's coffin as he finally got relieved of his duties 24 hours later. Sean, I'm a wee bit gutted because I've been enjoying this stint from the Belgian. From his hapless team selections to his clueless press conferences, just his general monotonous tone. I just don't think anyone could get excited or get behind him, but he's gone now. It's a shame. But I'm sure the next clown is only 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
Word is Barry Ferguson, Stephen Davis. How staunch can you get? But Sean, fill your boots, mate. We've got 10 minutes. Let's just
look. I enjoy my blue tinted Schadenfreude much more when we've taken the victory. So there was, it wasn't as good as normal. My American partner, she doesn't understand this. Like, she's like, "What are you doing? What are you listening to in podcasts?" I'm just listening to Clyde Super Scoreboard. I'm like, she's like, "Why?" I'm like, just a classic Schadenfreude. And she's like, "What does that mean?" Anyway, so like it wasn't quite as enjoyable in the sense that we also lost, so that it wasn't as much of a. But I also was disappointed that Clement was relieved of his duties. I was really hoping he'd sticking around for this derby, because what this means now is that they're going to get a dead cat bounce, and they're going to pick up a little bit more intensity to their play and things like that. That with the new manager coming in, whoever it is, even if it is just an interim though, that might be a lessened one. But if it is Barry Ferguson, it'd be nice to see him looking sad in the dugout on the 16th of March. But I'm concerned, not concerned, but like I'm disappointed that he's gone, and it would have been nicer for him to stay for the derby.
Paul?
Yeah, it's a shame it's over.
Was it say don't be sad that it's over?
Just remember, think back on the good times we've had. I said in a group chat this morning, people getting really upset about it. Don't worry, there'll be another clown along in a bit. So, and there will, right? They've got no budget. Who are they going to appoint? I think they'll obviously be an interim, and they're not going to jump and put somebody straight in the job. So you'll get some brown brogue wearing idiot that's going to get them like fired up for the remainder of the season, which is a complete waste of time because there's nothing for them to play for. Well, Europe, but I'm sure Fenerbahce will put them to the sword. I don't really care who it is. Hopefully it's somebody as funny. It'd be hard to be as funny as Baldermore, from peering through fences to miming, incidents at press conferences with his giant legs and feet. Like, it's not going to be as good, but
celebrating behind the goals when was it a draw?
St. Johnston, they beat St. Johnston in the cup.
Beat St. Johnston. That for me was the that was embarrassing.
Yeah, no, yeah. Look, it's unless the made up millions actually arrive, they're on a downgrade, right? So, and even if the made up millions do arrive, they're still going to have to be run for a profit sustainably. If nobody,
but they're now going to pay him off as well. So that's another ex-manager they've got in the books. They've already had
they're still paying for two. They're still paying for 2 others, I think. So
that's 3.
There's a rumor going around that he's taking a half the cut. So instead of being 1.2, it's 600 grand. But
it's still 600 grand got. I
don't know. Well, no, hang on though. The sort of the billions and trillions are flying in from the US any minute, right? So.
I'm not convinced.
No one is. So,
so some people are.
Well, yeah.
Depends what color your specs are.
And you said, Sean said that it's not as enjoyable when we lose as well. Well, normally not, but you must have. Hopefully, you've both seen, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers and listeners have seen. There's a lot of stuff on social media where that. They went from like way up here with the takeover, obviously, and then us dropping points, and they were all going, so that'd be back to 10, and then there's 2 derbies, it's 4, and then like a couple hours later, fucking it isn't, like this has happened again. So that sort of roller coaster of nonsense is always enjoyable. But yeah, like let's just hope the comedy continues. It's been a pretty good run for the last few years. They seem desperate to get Steven Gerrard back. Bring it on. They've got short memories. They wanted him hunted, and then COVID saved them and
So
saved
remember
him.
that? Yeah, they
Because
lost
he's
one
really
at
done well with
Hamilton
Aston Villa
and
and
Yeah, they got beat by Hamilton.
and-
yeah, lost at home, lost at Ibrox to Hamilton. COVID hit, saved his job.
Yeah,
I would say fair play to the 5,000 Rangers fans that were still at Ibrox after that 2-0 defeat, making quite a lot of noise. It's probably more noise they've made at that ground in quite some time, but the level of booing was very impressive given the number of empty seats that were in the stadium by that point. And Clement couldn't get up the dugout, up the tunnel quick enough. Like Stephen Robinson couldn't even shake his hand. He was off. It's hilarious. Yeah, well, I mean, admittedly, you never like to see someone lose their job. However, the writing has been on the wall for this one for quite some time. Like when Chris Boy's calling for your head in October last year, I mean, it's just taking them a wee bit longer to pull the trigger. But
It's just funny that they also can't afford Derek McInnes, apparently. Like,
why
he's
would
not
he
been
want to
named.
go though? Like he didn't want to go the last time.
Well, didn't he pick the team last time? So he was almost in.
Well, precisely. Well, guess who Rangers are playing midweek? They're playing Kilmarnock.
Yeah,
Is he picking both teams this weekend? This week, midweek. Anyway.
Yeah, sus.
All right. Well, I think I feel quite sort of like, you know, I'd rather got that off my chest. So that was good. And the 2 goals that Rangers conceded, and then Butland nearly conceded a third one because he kicked it straight to one of the St Mirren players. They were shocking. They were really, really bad. If you thought Celtic had a bad game, watch the highlights of the Rangers game. Far out.
Inciala was found.
Oh, he tripped over himself. They were terrible. They were really, really bad. I watched the whole minutes of highlights.
First goal as well, where he goes down, like pretending he's been hit. He's like holding his back and everything, and like they're watching the VARs going through the replay, try to find the foul. And he's just gone, like he just lost the ball and then just gone down pretending he's hurt.
I hope he plays against us.
Yeah,
he's a
even Maeda will mug him. Maeda will mug him.
Oh, he was deer in the headlight stuff, and that's against St Mirren. No disrespect to St Mirren, but anyway, Sean, what have you got for us recommendation-wise? Anything you've been watching, listening to, reading?
Yeah, I really enjoyed Silo on Apple TV. I've read those books, and the series is very good. But I'm actually just catching up on films lately, and one that I don't know how I hadn't seen it till now. I think just because it felt too heavy for me to watch just randomly. But The Whale, man, that is a very good film.
Is that the one with Brendan Fraser? Yeah.
It's so good. It's so compelling. Like when it finished, it was like an hour and 45 minutes, and it felt like it was like 12 minutes long. Do you know what I mean? Just and the whole thing's just set in as one one apartment. Like the camera never leaves the apartment really, and it's very good, very compelling.
Very good. I need to watch it, but I haven't seen it. But that was Brendan Fraser's return to form. So obviously being
an Oscar. Yeah, he won an Oscar.
The action hero of the 90s, and then obviously stacked all the weight on. So yeah, interesting. Paul, what you got?
Yeah, so back to album recommendations. Had a couple of weeks off those. But yeah, this one is one I've been listening to on and off and been meaning to recommend, and only just started listening to again. So I thought I'd chuck it in this week. It was released just about a year ago. Bill Ryder-Jones, a lot of people won't know the name. He was one of the founding members of the Coral, co-founder of the Coral when he was 13. He was playing lead.
Dreaming of You?
Yeah, that's the ones. So yeah, 1996 they formed. He was 13 years old. 6 years later, they released their debut album, 19, then stayed with them for another 6-7 years to release 5 albums as a band while he was in the band, lead guitarist and co-founder, and then went off and sort of and did some production work and some solo stuff. But he has got, I think it's either his 4th or 5th studio album. It's called Yaki Da, which is, I hope I've not murdered that. It's Welsh for good health. So basically a bit like Cheers. And yeah. Yeah, similar boat.
That's
so Yaki Da.
That's the Gaelic words, Sanshava.
So Yaki Da is the Welsh. So you'll need to just look up Bill Ryder-Jones rather than trying to spell Yaki Da unless you're Welsh. But yeah, really good album. It's got a bit of everything in it. High production value, upbeat tunes. Some of the lyrics maybe not quite as upbeat, but I quite enjoy that. So yeah, worth a look. Not very much like the Coral. So if whether you like the Coral or don't like the Coral, it's worth investigating. So yeah, Bill Ryder Jones, Yaki Da is the album, and that's my recommendation of the week.
Thank you very much, Paul. White Lotus season 3 is back. First episode last week, second episode drops but now or today. So intriguing. Very good cast. Jason Isaacs, Patrick Schwarzenegger playing an incel weirdo. Just it's going to be good. It's just I can feel it, but yeah, it's just all sort of building at the moment after the first episode. So keep you posted with that. But that's water cooler talk because it's one episode a week, so we can't binge this one.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be binging it because I never watched it. I just sort of I had one bad review about the first season, and I was like, it's not for me. And then the hype's been growing, and obviously, I think season 2 was better again than season 1. So I've sort of said that my other half, my wife, started watching the first episode. And I went, I was going to watch that.
What's it on?
Go back.
It's on Binge. It's on Foxtel.
Binge or Foxtel, yeah.
It's but it's an anthology series, so each season has a different cast. So it doesn't really tie in.
McConaughey and Harrelson.
True Detective.
Yeah. So basically, the White Lotus is a high-end hotel chain, and each season's based in a different hotel location. So I think I'm second or third episode of season 1. So I'm cracking on through seasons 1 and 2. So by the time we've done that, hopefully all of season 3 will be out. So I'll be able to. We'll be able to. We don't really binge. I think I've said this before. 1 episode a night is my wife's rules. So. We'll get to see it in a week. We'll see it over a week.
It's only like 10 episodes, so like 2 weeks you'll be up to speed anyway. So all good.
One last thing. If we're talking about telly, Yellow Jackets season 3 is out. It's been drip fed as well, but yeah, seasons 1 and 2 were great, and first episode's looking good.
Oh, add it to the list. So much TV and so little time. Sean, pleasure to have you on. Always welcome. Thank you for filling in tonight. Dave was working, so he'll be back hopefully next week. Paul, pleasure as always to have you with me as we talk all things Celtic. Please like and subscribe to the channel. It does help other like-minded Celts find us. We'll be back next week. I, again, haven't looked ahead of time to see who we're playing at the weekend. Anybody? Help me out.
The weekend is St Mirren away.
Oof, they're in form. So that's a better game. So
we're back onto playing Sunday games now that we're at Europe. Sunday for the rest of the
fantastic.
month.
We're 5:30 on Saturday. That game is
not is it not Sunday? I'm sure it's Sunday.
Saturday. I'm looking at the fixtures now. Saturday the 1st.
Oh, sorry, because it's Sunday morning.
So
Sunday
afternoon. It's at 1:30 a.m.
1:30 a.m. Yeah. So the sleep's not getting better yet.
I just looked at my calendar and seen Sunday, and I was like, oh, jeez. Didn't realize it was 1:30.
Well, anyway, we'll be back for that one. I'm sure we'll be knackered come Monday night because we'll be up at the crack of the dawn on Sunday morning watching it. So we will be watching it. We'll be back. We will be talking about it. So thank you very much. Thank you for everyone in the comments getting involved. Love hearing and seeing everyone talking all things Celtic. We'll be back next week. And all that's left to say is, hail, hail.
Hail, hail.